You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hello and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. I'm Stephen Cabral, board-certified naturopathic doctor. Thank you for joining me here today on part 2 of our Cabral HouseCall, where we're going to be going through more of our community's questions. We got to some amazing questions yesterday. We went over all sorts of issues. We went over inflammatory-based issues. We went over vegan-based diets. We went over applying to the private practice. What else? We talked about PCOS. We talked about HPV and how to destroy viruses. We talked about using vitamin C. We talked about deep veins, or we talked about varicose veins, I should say. Different types of proteins. Looking for doctors in LA. So yeah, we went over some great questions yesterday. Hopefully you tuned into that show. That was episode 890. You can find all the questions, all the show notes at stephencabral.com/890. And today will be episode 891. So whenever you want to read over the questions in full, because sometimes I'm not able to read the whole question out loud, and that's simply because of time. I try to be obviously respectful of your time and get in as many questions as possible. So head on over to stephencabral.com/891 for all of the recommendations that I give over today's show, as well as being able to read those questions. Okay, let's get right into the first question. The first question today is coming in from Kathryn. She's writing in, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. I love your podcast, and I'm working through listening to all of your episodes. Thank you for everything. Everything you say, I can find studies to back up, and I trust your opinion more than any other doctor. To get my question, I am a 33-year-old female, and I do Ironman triathlons. I'm extremely healthy, plant-based vegan diet. Even while training, I stick to natural sources for fuel. I eat raw, dried fruit bars and bananas for calories in place of sport gels for hydration. I mix sea salt and water with lemon and honey and drink raw coconut water. My question is, what supplements do you recommend I take on a daily basis to support my training? Right now, I supplement B complex, vitamin D, probiotic, magnesium. I tried taking iron for about 8 weeks, but had bad reactions, so I stopped. I've thought about taking vitamin C in a daily multi, and I've thought about trying your daily nutritional support shake, but I'm afraid I'll have a reaction to some of the ingredients as I have a sensitive stomach. I usually can't digest certain foods. Right now, in lieu of vitamin C, I'm adding Camu Camu to my smoothie, but that is only for about 4 days a week. I know recommendations for the average person, but I'm training, putting my body through a lot of work, 15 hours a week. I've heard you say with a lot of athletes, you work with a lot of athletes, and I would like a better answer for me than the average naturopathic doctor. Thank you." Okay, Kathryn, I'm happy to help. Of course, the absolute best way to figure out exactly what your body needs, to be honest, is to run the organic acids test and the hair tissue mineral analysis. That will tell you exactly what your deficiencies and needs are in terms of your vitamins. And so the organic acids test will tell you that. And then in terms of your minerals, your hair tissue mineral analysis will tell you that. So those are the two that I recommend running. And then, of course, for any athlete, I can't recommend enough the thyroid hormone adrenal test. So if you're not running that thyroid adrenal hormone test, you don't know what your cortisol levels are doing, so you don't know exactly how to supplement there in terms of herbal-based support, whether it's adrenal energy support or whether it's adrenal soothe, to take that at night to kind of calm cortisol levels to help you recover faster. So that's really, really important to run. If you can run 3 labs, those would be the 3 that I run. If you're not going to run any labs, well, my highest recommendation is the daily nutritional support. And that's because it contains a lot of things that you're already taking. So what you're taking right now is certainly not bad, but a lot of people, it's like they don't go all the way. They take almost everything that's contained in a multivitamin, but not the whole thing. And that whole thing about a multivitamin is that it always works better in synergies. And since our multivitamin is not like a mega one that like blows you out of the water, it's just meant to really be a safeguard. And trust me, as a triathlete, and again, I work with a lot of triathletes. I work with a lot of high-level triathletes. I'm not doing Ironmans. I'm doing sprint triathlons, or at least that's what I'm training for a lot of the time, is that your body needs a little bit more nutrition because you're going through more. So, if you're only going to add one, I would do the daily nutritional support. If you're worried about digestion, because you might not be used to it, yeah, I agree. Like, why not just start with a half a scoop instead of 2 scoops? And if that works well in your typical smoothie, then go to 1 scoop. And if that works well for 2 weeks or so, then go to 1.5 scoops and then eventually at 2 scoops. So, that's an easy way to do it. Super simple. What's one more thing? Because you're doing the magnesium, great. You probably want to eventually switch over to a CalMag or CalMag Complete if your levels check out well on a hair tissue mineral analysis. The B complex is great, especially since you're on a vegan-based diet. Vitamin D, essential, so you're great there. Probiotic, good. I would recommend the daily nutritional support, the daily fruit and vegetable blend, so you're getting your 22 organic fruits and vegetables in a powdered-based form. You could just put that in your pre-workout or during your workout. And I would recommend the alkalizing vitamin C to get more minerals as well as a higher dose of vitamin C. You might want to look into, again, that's really what it comes back to lab testing. If you ran an omega-3 test, you would see your omega-6 levels to your omega-3 levels, and you'd be able to see if you need an omega-3 in your diet right now. So the full spectrum vitamin C or the alkalizing vitamin C for sure, because of the level of training that you're doing. And most likely you'll need a zinc-based product because of the level of training that you're doing as well. And the other one that I might think about adding in with you is called the Healthy Gut Support. And that's actually because it's loaded with glutamine and zinc. So it kind of takes care of 2 things that your body gets depleted of when you're training. So remember, when you're training hard, when your body's under a lot of stress, whether you're exercising or not, it's going to be glutamine, it's going to be zinc, it's going to be vitamin C. Those are 3 to look at right away. And then, of course, your B vitamins that you're already taking. Hopefully that helps, Kathryn. M is up next. M's asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. My mom was recently diagnosed with diabetes. How do I have her adopt a healthier lifestyle? She eats unhealthy and usually snacks right before going to sleep. Thanks. All right, Em, thank you for writing in. And you're right. That's the worst thing you can be doing if you have higher blood sugar levels is eating right before bed. Honestly, a lot of people who with blood sugar issues and they're doing intermittent fasting, which is great for blood sugar issues, are kind of doing it backwards. A lot of people wait until lunch. I'll talk about this more in the future, but a lot of people wait until lunch to do their first meal. And I know this has nothing to do with your question, Em, but I want to go off on a little tangent here. Truthfully, the best way to do it would actually be to have breakfast and lunch and not have dinner for most people. And the reason is that you want literally all of that blood sugar to be soaked up by the time you get to bed. Because when you're asleep, well, that's when your body's in more of the parasympathetic. That's when it doesn't need as much glucose. That's when you can tap into more body fat. That's going to happen naturally anyways. And your body's going to soak up whatever sugar is in the bloodstream. So the first thing we need to do is whatever she's snacking on before bed, we need to make it a healthier snack where we need to do a 1-for-1 replacement. Now, that could be a handful of raw almonds, and then maybe it's some cut up veggie sticks, such as like celery, which could be great, or snacking on any other vegetable for now. And then it's getting down to doing a normal dinner 2-3 hours before bed and then not eating before bed. That's the first healthy lifestyle adoption. That would be great. The second one is making sure she goes 12 hours without eating. So no matter what, even if she's snacking before bed, 12 hours again before she eats. So 8 to 8, 7 to 7, 6 to 6, however she wants to do it. Other than that, for anyone who's diabetic, your liquid has to be water. It can be ginger tea. It can be an herbal tea such as chamomile, but she cannot have artificially sweetened drinks, even if it's 0 calories, and no other calorie-based drinks. All of our calories should only come from food, not beverages. That's the worst thing that can happen. And typically, again, for most diabetics, and again, you really have to work with your specialist or a doctor because you want to be monitoring blood sugar levels, but really try to transition to a 3-meal-a-day nutrition plan so you allow the blood sugar to come back into the cells and not sit there in the bloodstream. I've got a lot of podcasts on this. I would love you to go back and hopefully you and your mom can listen to them together and really begin to adopt a healthier lifestyle. The other thing, maybe she'd be open to reading The Rain Barrel Effect, which is my new book, and it's very, very inexpensive for anyone to pick up and be able to listen and really adopt better lifestyle patterns because the book teaches them why they should be doing this, not just telling them, but teaching. And that's really what I'm all about. So, Em, hopefully that helps. And yeah, I do hope that you and your mom can really make this a journey together. Chu's up next. Chu is asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm 37 years old and I have random twitching all over my body and dealing with erectile dysfunction issues for a couple of years now. My doc wanted to put me on anxiety medication, which I refused due to the side effects. I have a Vata body type, and yes, I've been going through some stressful situation, but nothing excessive. I was just wondering if this might be a vitamin and mineral deficiency or something else. I recently started supplementing with your zinc and B complex. I also just started your 7-day Dr. Ball detox a couple of days ago, and was looking at purchasing omega-3, but a friend informed me that krill oil is better. They both do the same benefits, correct? Thank you for your time. All right, great questions. There's a bunch of questions in here. Let's just kind of work from backwards to forward. Krill oil is not the same as fish oil, and it does not necessarily work better. I love krill oil, but actually the benefits come a lot of times from the antioxidant astaxanthin. It does not come from the EPA and DHA level. And the only reason I can say that to you truthfully, because I don't really care about the supplement itself. I care about the result, right? I mean, that's kind of the whole point. The only reason we use supplements is to get results. So krill oil is actually quite low in EPA and DHA. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's better absorption. Okay, but I don't see that at a clinical level. Meaning I test people's omega-3 levels, and then I say, okay, here are your results. If they were on krill oil and it's not getting the results they want, I say, here's an easy way to get results. You're going to use a higher EPA than DHA supplement, but they'll have both. And then if you want to use krill oil, great. We might even come up with a krill oil in the future with Equilibrium Nutrition, but it's going to be because of the astaxanthin. It's that very powerful antioxidant in it, and not because of the EPA and DHA. So no, if you're looking for a blood thinner, if you're looking for something that's going to really have more anti-inflammatory effects, not antioxidant, but anti-inflammatory, you'll want like the omega-3 support that we carry. I'll try to link that up in the show notes today as well. So omega-3 support, so much better for that. Zinc and B-complex, those are two great things for a Vata body type for sure. But again, you can test those on an organic acids test and the zinc on a hair tissue mineral analysis. Stress, believe it or not, by the way, maybe you don't feel your stress is excessive, but over time, as your rain barrel begins to fill up, it's kind of you hitting the breaking point. And so when I look at erectile dysfunction issues, I'm looking at a few things. Potentially low testosterone in someone that's the Vata body type. A lot of times, though, higher cortisol, higher anxiety, lower levels of serotonin or GABA, kind of like those relaxation-based neurotransmitters. So for you, what I want you to get into is definitely like a mind-body-based approach. I want you doing some hatha yoga. I want you doing some breath work, some meditation, because I also want to see if this is a constriction-based issue, a vasodilation-based issue. Other products that help well with that I don't necessarily recommend using long-term, but things like L-arginine, they're kind of nitric oxide-based agonists. What's a better way of saying that? They allow for more blood flow to the extremities, and obviously that will help with erectile dysfunction. So those are all things that you can do. Light exercise would be great. That's also going to help. Stress reduction, doing a nice big smoothie in the morning with a lot of water, a lot of hydration so you're not dehydrated, getting enough sleep. It's literally all of the things in the rain barrel effect. I mean, I really want you to read that book. And then the way I'd be able to honestly help you more is if you start to run some lab testing like the organic acids test and the hair tissue mineral analysis and the adrenal hormone test through Equilibrium Nutrition. So equilibriumnutrition.com. So hopefully that helps too. All right, Christian's up next. Hello, Dr. Brawl and team. I have many questions, but will keep my message succinct. From listening to your podcast, I'm almost certain that I have some kind of fungal or yeast overgrowth happening in my body. I had a CT scan that showed tree and bud nodules on my lungs, typically seen with some type of fungal infection, possibly candida. My pulmonologist specialist was open to do a lung biopsy to confirm infections. However, I'm almost certainly it's fungal based. I have a white coat in my tongue, memory fatigue, sporadically sugar cravings. Would an organic acids test be able to show the fungal overgrowth? Personally, I have known people to do your candida program and all of their symptoms cleared up fantastically. I would be willing to get on the same protocol, but I'm unsure if my Western doctors will understand my concerns of not wanting to do a biopsy and trusting my own suspicions. Can you recommend what I should say to my doctors to express my concerns about an infection or express through detox and diet changes? Okay. Thank you in advance, Christian. So let me see if I can get this right. I completely agree with you. And you could run the organic acids test and the stool test. You could also run a food sensitivity test if you wanted to on top of that, kind of like the big three for the candida and digestion. All three of those would show you. Organic acids test is definitely the first place to go. And then a stool test for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and then a food test as well. So that's absolutely what I recommend. Now, again, if it shows positive, well, then you know it's there. Now, the second thing is that our candida bacterial overgrowth protocol only takes 12 weeks, and then it's gone. So that's the pretty great thing as well. So it's your choice, right? It's your body. I can't tell you what to do. Your doctors can't tell you what to do. And that's what I recommend. So I want you to do what you feel is best for your body. We can clear this up for you, literally black and white. Do you have candida overgrowth? Yes or no. Do you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth? Yes or no, because you'll run the stool test. You'll run the organic acids test. What about leaky gut? Well, you can run a food sensitivity test as well. And that will also do a backup marker for candida. So honestly, those are the order I would do them in: organic acids test, stool test, food sensitivity. In case you can't do all three, you would just kind of do those in order of importance. Then you'll show the results if you want to your doctors. And again, they might take no credence in them because it's just not blood work. Then they only use blood work. And so honestly, it's your body. At some point, I had to take control of my own health. I did what I felt was best for me. It ended up being the right decision. But again, it was calculated. You don't want to make uninformed decisions. You still want to listen to your specialist, and you want to listen to yourself as well. So, example, run the lab tests. Show that you have a positive result if that's the case for candida or fungal overgrowth. Say, now that I know that I have it, and this is a possibility for the nodules, why don't I work on this first, get rid of the candida overgrowth, fix all of those things, see if I become much better than asymptomatic, and then we can decide if we need to do a biopsy after that. Because, unless this is something life-threatening, you probably have some time. I don't know your age, but I'm assuming you have time. And so I can't tell you what to do, but hopefully that gives you some information, of course, on where to get started and how to get started. All right, perfect. Okay, Logan is up next. Let's see what Logan's question is. Hello, Dr. Cabral. Love your podcast and how helpful you are to your listeners. I'm a triathlete, and I've been struggling with necrotic, dead, sesamoid bone now for 6 months. I really haven't been able to run since that time. I had an MRI done, and the doctor recommended working with a physical therapist who specializes in custom orthotics to help alleviate the pain around the sesamoid. I'm currently still working with a PT. I've tried 4 different types of orthotics, none of relieving the pain, even when walking. Do you have any recommendation on how to heal the area? I do not believe the bone will come back to life, but I'm not certain if there are any other things I could be done for it. I have read horror stories online about unsuccessful the surgery can be. All I want is to be able to run again and compete in triathlons, but at the bare minimum, have a pain-free walk. Thank you. All right, Logan, certainly understand your pain. I feel bad for you. I do work, like we even heard earlier, I work with a lot of triathletes, and there's a number of injuries a lot of times with triathletes, and that's simply due to the amount of repetitions. It's called repetitive motion injuries, and repetitive motion injuries is really a hallmark of what you're dealing with right now, and that's because that sesamoid bone is actually 2, right? There's 2 bones, and they're attached and part of right underneath the largest metatarsal in your big foot. So basically, for everyone thinking about this, think of the big toe and how it comes down to where like the ball of the foot is. Well, right underneath that ball of the foot is essentially where those sesamoid bones are. And every time you strike the ground when running, basically as your foot, hits the ground or essentially as you push off the ground, right? Because a lot of people are landing with their heel or maybe midfoot. And then as they're pushing off, the muscles, sesame bones are actually a place where the muscles can attach. And when we look at plantar fasciitis and the way that the arch works, that they actually pull on that bone quite a bit. So why don't I get right to the point here instead of giving an anatomy lesson into podiatry of the foot? And that is this. It's that when we're looking at helping people with these sesamoid fractures, because there's sesamoid fractures and there's also sesamoid stress fractures. I obviously can't pronounce the word sesamoid. And then there's sesamoiditis. And sesamoiditis is actually inflammation of the sesamoid bones, or at least the attachment of those bones. So this is what we have to do to heal essentially all sesamoid-based issues. One is we have to do corrective work. The corrective work is actually making sure that there's enough arch, that there's a proper arch in the foot. We do that through one-legged squats barefoot so that we're training the arch, we're making the arch stronger. But really to heal that inflammation and heal the bone itself, we're doing anywhere from 2 to 4 months off of really the striking of that. And most people, and certainly in your condition, would need to wear an air cast, or they would need to be fully immobilized. And that would mean they'd be on crutches and using a cast, like an actual cast. And the reason is that you can't put any more pressure on that. It's had enough. It's literally, if it truly is necrotic and it's not going to come back to life, well, that's a different story. And I mean, really, so I see people with sesamoiditis, I see sesamoid bone fractures, I see sesamoid bone stress fractures, and those stress fractures can take 4 months. A regular fracture would take maybe 6 to 8 weeks to heal, more like the 1.5 months to 2 months, and then easing back into it. So with you, we're obviously just trying to get pain-free. We're going to need to stay off of it, whether it's air cast or full cast, and you're going to have to work with your specialist with that. Now, when you come back in PT, you'll want to do some barefoot-based work to build up and strengthen the arch, to make sure there's no plantar tendon-based tightness. I could go on, but honestly, I haven't met with you. I don't know necessarily, but I'm also not the best person for this. I'm giving you a place to start, but I'm not a orthopedic-based specialist. I'm not an orthopedic surgeon. I'm not a specialist in this area. And so what I would say is I've given you my insight, work with the best people that you can, and that would be triathlon or triathlete or athletic-based orthopedic surgeons and doctors as well. So hopefully, Logan, you get the answers that you need. And there's an answer. It's just we need to find out the right way to go for you. Okay. So Megan's up next. Megan's asking, it would be great to be advised by you regarding my wellness. My name's Meg and I'm 31. I live in Brisbane, Australia. I was diagnosed with Crohn's about 11 years ago. I had an ileostomy in 2013. And the ileostomy has become permanent. Okay, for those people who don't know what an ileostomy is ileostomy is actually taking the last part of the small intestine and they're actually disconnected and bringing it to the abdominal wall. And then you typically have a collection bag. And that basically means any undigested food or stool will come out in the bag and the bag will be changed. Well, that's typically then reattached later to the colon because the ileum, that's the ileo part of ileostomy, is then connected to the cecum. That's the first part of the colon. But in a permanent ileostomy, there's actually usually it's removal of the bowel and anus and all the large intestine. And all you're left with is the small intestine. The small intestine then comes through this ileostomy-based bag. And there's different types of collection-based bags. I don't want to. There's all sorts of different intricacies to this. So basically, what this is important to talk about, because my answer is going to be premised on what happens when you don't have a colon. That's very, very important. And we'll talk about that. Okay, so back to Megan. It's a very long question. And so again, you're going to be able to read this at stevencabral.com/891. So that's where all the show notes and all the recommendations will be. All right, so she goes on to talk about some localized psoriasis, some endometriosis, some bouts of anxiety. We're looking at a potential gene for muscular dystrophy. We are looking at myositis and doing better, though, on the Crohn's now. Okay. Weaning off antidepressants. Great. And she's currently taking some medication for endometriosis. She's taking krill oil. She's taking B12 injections, and she's using some essential oils for support. I use natural cleansing-based products. Okay, here are her concerns. Tired every day, no energy. Despite this, trying to stay positive, and looking at high C-reactive protein in the body. Haven't had any Crohn flare-ups, but there is some psoriasis. And looking at controlling inflammation, what tests should I run? Okay, good, great questions, really great questions. All right, so first off the bat, here's if we're not going to have the colon, what we're typically looking at is like, okay, we might be missing out on some of the short chain fatty acids that we're using for energy and for fuel for the body. We're looking at additional B vitamin utilization. And so what we want to look at are what are our nutrient deficiencies? And the easiest way to do that, like instead of guessing, you run an organic acids test and you run a hair tissue mineral analysis. That's why we call it our starter kit. Our starter kit literally tells you, are you deficient on these vitamins? Are you deficient on these minerals? If yes, we need to replace those in order to get you back to a foundational level of health. And of course, that includes good eating. But what we want to do is give your body back the nutrients through supplementation first, and then strengthen your digestive system. So then you're able to use solid digestion to better extract nutrition from your food. So that's your place to start. Now, in terms of endometriosis, well, those are two great places, but we might want to look deeper, and we might want to run looking at a thyroid adrenal hormone test. And that could be one place we start to look at maybe estrogen dominance. We might look at lowered thyroid. So we can look at that. And in my opinion, just looking at this, you can run a food sensitivity test. And yes, that will tell you your food sensitivities, which is great. But if I had to choose between the food sensitivity test and the stool test, I would choose the stool test. And the reason I'd like to know is there bacterial overgrowth? Because if there's bacterial overgrowth like E. coli or Klebsiella, it might be interesting to look at. But again, you had your colon removed. So would that remove a lot of the bacteria that might be seeping into your bloodstream? Yes, it would. But you didn't say you had your colon removed. I'm simply making that assumption. But either way, you'll be able to take and glean hopefully some advice from this. So that's absolutely where I would start. Organic acid test and hair tissue mineral analysis for sure. And then if you want, look into the stool test and look into the hormone-based testing. And then you'll get my exact recommendations from there. And of course, I would be using the Dr. Cabral Daily Protocol every single day. And that would be to give you the essentials of what your body needs. And because the daily probiotic support is mainly a small intestinal-based probiotic, you'll obviously get the benefits from that. The only time we wouldn't do that is if there was bacterial overgrowth already in the intestines, which you would find out on a organic acids test and stool test. So hopefully that helps. All right, let's You know what? We're going to keep it at that for today. And the reason is that the next question is quite long. And so I want to give that the proper time it deserves. We're already at the 25-minute mark, which means I want to respect your time. Well, I like to keep my podcast at under 30 minutes so that hopefully you're able to listen daily. And the reason I really believe that is that if you make functional medicine, if you make Ayurvedic medicine, naturopathic medicine, bioregulatory medicine, all the different types of natural medicine, a part of your life on a daily basis, one, you're going to be more focused on it in your daily life, so you're going to make better overall choices. But the whole point is this, is you do not want to learn by the fire hose methodology, right? You don't want it all at once. You want this to be a drip-based effect. So what you listen to today is reinforced by what you're going to listen to over the next weeks and months, and hopefully will reinforce the previous podcasts you've heard before that. That's my goal. I hope that it's helping. If it is or isn't, always let me know. I love your feedback. I really do. You can give me all that feedback at cabralsupportgroup.com. And of course, always at Instagram on that post, meaning like if that podcast was helpful, let me know. If you can get more out of it, sure, let me know. Like, again, like this is what I enjoy. I really believe that the Cabral concept it's all of ours, right? It's part of all of our growth. And as I'm teaching to you, it's reinforcing my learning. So, I'm grateful. I really am for this community. Truly appreciate you. If you've left a review on iTunes, really appreciative. And as always, if this show is helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only two ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rain barrel.